The A's go big in Texas, and another phenom gets the call. That's next on Curveballs and Changeups, a baseball podcast straight out of Sacramento. I'm Steve Harmon, and this is a podcast for A's fans and baseball fans in general. I played the game. I once hit a Grand Slam home run in an over 30 baseball league. I covered the Bash Brothers A's as a sports writer in the 1980s and early 90s. I've been a baseball fan since 1967 when the kid down the block introduced me and my brothers to the game. And my first major league game was at the Oakland Coliseum in 1969. A note, I'm doing separate episodes for the A's and Giants now. You can listen to both wherever you can find podcasts. Before I start, I've got a trivia question that I'll answer at the end. Who was the last A's pitcher to throw a complete game? As I said, I'll answer that later. So the A's went big in Texas, not only winning a series from the Rangers, but taking 3 of 4 from a team that's only 2 seasons removed from a World Series title. And they did it with a combination of good starting pitching, timely hitting, and brushing off the bird dung of a messy 15-2 loss in the middle of the series. But first, some news. The A's have called up one of their top pitching prospects to their big club today, Gunnar Hoagland. He'll make his big league debut today against the Miami Marlins. This coincides with the move to put JT Ginn on the injured list after he felt arm discomfort in his second start. Hoagland has been building up his arm from Tommy John surgery in 2021. He was a first-round draft pick by the Toronto Blue Jays in 2021, traded to the A's in the Matt Chapman deal in 2022. He's pitched in AA and AAA last year, 23 starts, 119 strikeouts, and 131 innings, only 37 walks. And this year, he's put himself back on the map with dominant work in the hitter-friendly Pacific Coast League. He has the third best ERA in the league, 2.43 among qualified starters. Okay, so after their series win over the Rangers, the A's have now won 7 of 9, including 5 of 7 against the Rangers. Poor Rangers just went through the A's and Giants gauntlet, losing 7 of 10 against them. Bruce Bochy did not look like the World Series champion that he is as he watched the pesky A's take it to his team. The A's are now 17-15 with a winning April. They went 16-15 in April under their belts. And they started off May with a win behind a pitcher who was a big question mark going in, Jeffrey Springs. Could he get back the mojo of the season opening start he had? Since then, at that point, he went 6 scoreless against Seattle. That was an opening day, but since then, he's given up 14 earned runs in 16 and a third innings. His ERA was up to 7.66 after 6 starts. Most of the damage against him came in the first inning. He'd given up a major league high 14 earned runs in the first inning across 5 starts, plus an additional 7 earned runs in the second, where his ERA basically is from, those first and second innings. Springs was interviewed by reporters and expressed frustration. He wanted to show that his offseason signing wasn't a mistake, that he had a lot to give the A's. He's all the way back from his Tommy John surgery, but he wasn't showing it. He'd given up 27 hits in 22 and a third innings in those last 5 starts. But also very troubling were the 15 walks. And the 5 home runs in that span didn't help. So in this one against Texas, he got through the first inning and then the second unscathed. And then the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth unscored upon. Taken out after 6 scoreless, only 2 hits, through only 68 pitches. Afterwards, Springs said, quote, "I was pitching to both sides. Honestly, pitch selection hasn't been the best on my part, and I need to throw the ball to both sides of the plate better, and that's been the focus since the last outing. Just better pitch selection, better execution. I felt like I got very predictable for a number of starts." And you could see it with the Ranger hitters. They were in between his pitches. On the fastballs, they were late. On the changeups, they were early. But I was disappointed that manager Mark Kotsay didn't let Springs go further. I advocate longer stints for starting pitchers, but I understand on this one. After his rough patch, those 5 games, Kotsay wanted Springs to come out on a positive. The game was still 1-0 when Springs got the shoulder massage and hug in the dugout, signaling he was done. The A's expanded the lead to 2-0 by the time the top of the 7th inning was over. Kotsay said afterwards, quote, Anytime we can get a lead into the 7th inning, I feel pretty good about our chances to win that game. And for Jeffrey, it was a positive outing. It was a positive way to walk off the mountain. And I like doing that. I think there's something behind getting a guy trying to build his confidence. If you send him back out there and you have to get him afterwards, he's walking off the mountain with a different attitude. So that's one of my pet peeves there is, well, why not just have faith that he's going to continue doing what he's been doing for 6 innings? But that's for another moment. At the same time, Bruce Bochy took his starter, Tyler Melly, out after 6 innings and 90 pitches. And he was going great. Gave up just the 1 run in the first inning, and that was it. Was tying the A's hitters up in knots. But Bochy felt 90 pitches was too much, didn't want to send him out there with the possibility of going over 100 pitches in the 7th inning, so took him out. So both managers tore the heart and soul out of a great-looking pitcher's duel and then let the bullpen settle it. And, of course, the Rangers bullpen immediately gave up a run in the 7th inning and another in the 8th to give some breathing room to the A's bullpen, which held. I will address this issue of devaluing starting pitchers later. Some notes on the A's. Good to see Brent Rooker in the cleanup spot. He seems to thrive there. He's 5 for 12 as the cleanup hitter. That's a .417 batting average. And he's only hitting .237 in the number 2 hole. I don't understand using big power guys in that 2 spot. It just isn't a natural spot for them. It opens up a more natural spot also in the lineup for Jacob Wilson. He seems to like it there, hitting .368 from that spot. Though Jacob Wilson can hit from anywhere in the lineup. He's also hitting .385, 15 for 39 from the 6 hole. He's hitting .360, 9 for 25 from the 7th hole. He's hitting .313 from the 9th spot, which he'll never see again, I doubt. But the number 2 hole seems fitting for his slashing style, ability to get the ball in play, hit it to the right side. And he's also a good guy to get a rally going early in the game. Now, I know there's some consternation going on around Lawrence Butler's funk. He's gone 7 for his last 44. That's a .159 batting average since April 20th, dropping from .291 to .244 in that time. Ironically, he has hit 3 of his 5 home runs in this span. Though, I mean, maybe it's attached. Maybe he is swinging for the distance instead of being a little more level with his swing. I do know that he is highly vulnerable to the fastball up, and when he was going well earlier before this April 20th funk, he was laying off those high pitches. Now remember, he had that slow start last year. He had that painful April. Was hitting .195 with just 2 homers and 4 ribbies at the end of April. He kept struggling in May, dropping down to .179, so that the A's finally sent him down to Las Vegas on May 13th. Even after he came back on June 18th, he continued to struggle. He only started heating up on June 29th, after he'd fallen to a low of a .174 batting average with just the 2 home runs still. After that, and you can thank the A's for being so patient with him, he was one of the hottest hitters on the planet. If you want more on Butler, I had a lengthy podcast devoted to his young career. Please check it out. All right, I know a lot of fans are anticipating the return of Zach Geloff, recovering from a broken hamate bone in his hand. He's been able to start some baseball activities. Apparently, he may start a rehab stint next week. And, of course, he would add an exciting dimension to the A's. He had 25 stolen bases last year. He has pop in his bat. He had 14 home runs in his rookie season, which was basically a half season. And then 17 home runs last year, though he did lead the American League with 188 strikeouts. But as we wait for him to recover, I gotta say, Luis Arias has been a very nice player filling in the void. Kotze went too long with rookie Max Muncy and thankfully sent him down for more seasoning on April 21st. By the way, Max Muncy is hitting .406 in AAA Las Vegas. That's 13 hits and 32 at-bats. It's his glove, though, that needed the work, and that's what he's going to be developing down there. Arias has handled 59 chances without an error at second base, and he's turned 8 double plays. He's been a needed stabilizer for that young infield. He's also been pretty good with the bat. He's gone 9 for 35 since taking over as the starting second baseman, with 2 home runs, including that game winner against the White Sox in the A's 3-2 extra inning win on April 27th. He'll likely lose his starting role when Giloff returns, but he's proven to be a valuable asset, and it'll be good to have him around. Another valuable asset, Miguel Andujar. He lost his regular time when the A's called up rookie Nick Kurtz to take over regular first base duties. That pushed Tyler Soderstrom into left field, where he made one of the more spectacular plays the other day on a pop-up that he had no business getting to, much less catching, along the foul line there. That was just, he had to run, I think, over 100 feet to make that catch. And then he had to, watch out for the barriers along the side to make the catch. And that, putting Soderstrom into left field, pushed Andujar out of the starting lineup, even though he was among the lead leaders in batting average. But Andujar continues to contribute whenever and wherever he's called on. He started third base Wednesday, had that big run-scoring first-inning single to get the A's started with a 1-0 lead against that very stingy starting pitcher, Tyler Mahle. That hit was pure professionalism. He had just fouled off a nasty two-strike splitter that was exploding down below his knees, and then tomahawked a fastball that was eye level into center field for the base hit and the run. He's still hitting .325, and even though he made an error at third base, you may see more of him there. That error that he made had nothing to do with his skills. It was just a misplacement of the glove on the backhander. It hit the heel of his glove instead of the webbing, and it dropped out of his glove. But he looks like he'll be solid there. And, that means that there may be more shifting on the roster. Gio Urshela may lose some playing time. He has not been hitting, so it's a pretty nice solution to have a guy who's hitting .325 to stick in there at third base who can do a sufficient job there. All right, now a check-in on the upcoming series the A's have in Miami, and let's hope they're not partying too hard down there. We talked about Hoagland's big league debut today. He's facing second-year righty Valente Belloso, who's had 2 starts and over 8 innings, has given up only 2 earned runs on 9 hits. But that means he's gone 4 1/3 and 3 2/3 in both starts. Don't expect him to go too deep. And then I'm sure the bullpen in Miami is quite the adventure. Saturday, it'll be a 1:10 p.m. start Pacific time with Osvaldo Bido, 2-2, the 4.31 coming off a nice start. And he's going up against right-hander Max Meyer. He's the kid who struck out 14 in 6 innings 2 starts ago against the Reds. But he came back down to earth in his last start, giving up 5 earned runs in 4 innings against Seattle. And then Sunday, it'll be J.P. Sears, who's 4-2 with a 2.94, really nice start to the season. And he'll go against Edward Cabrera, who is 0-2 on the season with a 7.23 ERA, giving up 13 earned runs in his last 13 innings over 3 starts. So A's should expect to do well with the bat in Miami. All right, I've made it clear that one of my top pet peeves in baseball is the game's universal caution with starting pitchers. The conventional wisdom has taken, and it appears that the 100-pitch limit will be a barrier that very few will cross. I looked it up and found the distressing pattern is fully ingrained. We're just about we are done with April and just getting going with May, and not a single pitcher has thrown 110 pitches in a game. The average pitch count for starters in the major leagues is 86. The A's average 89 pitches per start and 5.2 innings a start, which is the major league average. Pitchers have exceeded 100 pitches in 94 of the 938 games that have been started this year. That's 10%. Kotze has allowed his starters to go over 100 pitches 6 times, which is tied for second most in the majors. Major League Baseball has had 3 complete games all year, 2 of those shutouts. Starters have short leashes, relievers are king, and managers continue to make the call to the bullpen as if there's always a better option there. The numbers have changed over a generation. 10 years ago, starting pitchers made up 66% of all innings thrown. Today, they're throwing only 59% of all of the innings. It's a big drop-off. Remember when the new stat came out, quality starts? When a pitcher goes 6 innings and gives up 3 or fewer runs? We all thought it was BS then. All us OGs. That's a 4.50 ERA. That's quality? Well, now it's an achievement. The Major League average for quality starts so far this year is 33%. That's just 1/3 of all starts in the major leagues are doing the bare minimum of what's needed to give your team a quality start. The A's pitchers have turned in only 9 quality starts in 32 games. That's 28% of their starts, below the major league average. The Houston Astros lead the majors with 52% quality starts. The number of quality starts has been on a steady and steep decline for a decade. In 2015, 50% of all starts were considered quality starts. That has been a number that has been pretty consistent through modern baseball history, though it got up to a high of 63% in 1968, the year of the pitcher. But most other years has been around 50, 52, 53, 50% on the season. But since 2015, the percentage of quality starts dipped below 40% for the first time in 2018 and has been in the mid to high 30s since. Now it's in danger of slipping into the low 30s. The number of no decisions for starting pitchers generally was in the mid to high 20% range until 2015 when it went over 30%. That means pitchers who start games who go, say, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 innings, mostly 5 or 6 innings, are not credited with a win or a loss because games are decided later. In 2021, the percentage of no decisions got up to 40%, and now it's routinely near that number. So close to 40% of all starts are end in no decisions by the starting pitchers, and the relievers are there with the decisions. What does this mean? It's the devaluation of the starting pitcher. We no longer care about whether a starting pitcher gets a win or not. We now no longer ask a starting pitcher if he wanted to stay in the game. We, and I mean the media, no longer asks a manager why he took out a starting pitcher who was doing great out there. It was sad to hear Luis Severino say after his 5-inning no-decision stint this week that, quote, "I'm not out there trying to win 20 games." It seemed like he had diminished his own sense of pride he has. It's blurred out the historical importance of the starting pitcher. We no longer go by the old standards of 20 wins or 20 complete games or 10 shutouts or 275 innings, never mind 200 innings. After the current crop of starting pitchers retire, we will be entering an era that may never produce another 150-game lifetime winner. Remember a few years ago we were saying, we'll never see another 300-game winner. Well, now we are past that point of even considering a pitcher winning more than 150 games in a career. Did you know that there are 50 pitchers who have 59 or more wins lifetime in the major leagues, and none is younger than 30? That means they have fewer and fewer opportunities to get wins, and it's going to be less and less of the idea that they're going to get even past 100 wins. For context, I'm going to invoke a name from the A's glory years for all you OGs out there. When Catfish Hunter left the A's for free agency after the 1974 season, still a painful moment, and that was when he signed with the New York Yankees. Catfish Hunter had already won 161 games, and he wasn't 29 years old yet. Of the 18 active pitchers with 100 or more wins right now for their career, one is 31 years old. That's Jose Berrios with 100 wins. And one other is 32. That's Aaron Nola with 104. Michael Wacha is 33, and he's got 102 wins. The rest on that list of pitchers with 100 or more wins are all 34 years old and older. Good luck with making the all-time wins list, guys. Adherents to analytics will say it's all in the service of giving your team the best chance to win. And it's to correct the sins of our past, in which so many fine careers were ground into dust by squeezing the last drop of blood out of starting pitchers, shortening careers, etc. They know now, though, thanks to a massive report produced by the major leagues just this winter, it's out there for everybody to read, that we have a higher incidence of arm injuries for pitchers than ever before. They also know that there is no correlation between limiting pitch counts to 100 and whether a team wins. In fact, in the day and age of the 100 pitch count limit, the number of blown wins when starting pitchers left with a lead and had the chance to win has been at 9% in most of the 21st century. And that's basically the 100 pitch count limit era. During the years when starting pitchers were king, that number was in the low 6s to 7%. In the year of the pitcher, 1968, that number was at 5.2%. So almost double of what it was in 68 that we're seeing. The blown wins, games that the starting pitchers left with the lead but did not get the win because the lead was blown. My dream is one day we'll all break the fever of the 100 pitch count and the over-reliance on bullpens and the devaluation of starting pitchers. Until then, we just have to wait and watch as bullpens get raggedy armed, maybe forcing managers to start pushing their starters to go just a little deeper. On a side note, do you know that local radio broadcasts now have pitch counts as a promotional tag? Quote, Casey Mize at 81 pitches. Pitch count presented by Rocket Mortgage. Own the dream. Oh, it makes me sick. Okay, I promised you the answer to my trivia question at the end. Kotsay's decision to take out Springs with a 2-hit shutout and only 68 pitches is what prompted my trivia question for the day. I actually tried to find the record of 2 hitters thrown in the major leagues. How many 2-hitters have been thrown through history of baseball, and there's nowhere that I can find it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but when you Google it, it just isn't there. When you look at certain revered baseball websites, they're just not they're not hitting it for me. So if anybody knows a good source for that, please refer it to me. I would love to see it. I just wanted to kind of measure how many low hit games we've had in recent years compared to those that were done historically. All right, so the question was, who was the last A's pitcher to throw a complete game? Well, many of you probably do remember this. It was Joey Estes just last year when he threw a 5-hit shutout over the Los Angeles Angels on July 3rd. Before that, though, there hadn't been a complete game since 2021 during the COVID year, when Sean Manaea had 2 and Chris Bassett had 1. One of those complete games by Sean Manaea was a 7-inning complete game during one of those dumb doubleheaders where they shortened both games to 7 innings. I don't really count it. But you have to go back to 2003 to the most complete games by an A's pitcher since 2000, and that's when Mark Mulder had 9, Michigan State's finest. And I'm going to invoke Catfish Hunter again for the OGs. He averaged 15 complete games a year in his 8 prime years with the A's. That was when he was averaging 268 innings a year. And then in the first year with the Yankees in 1975, Catfish Hunter completed 31 games in a single season for the Yankees. All right, well, on that historical note, that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Sacramento's Curveballs and Changeups with me, your host, Steve Harmon. You can find Sacramento's best baseball podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts. Please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when my next podcast is up. I'm also on Twitter, or what some call X now, and Threads, and post my episodes there. If you see it there, please retweet or repost and tell your friends. It would be great to grow our baseball-loving community. Okay, until next time, lay off the slider, low and away.